Welcome to part 11 of this series, trying to locate the sons of Noah and where they really went to. Now in this video we're going to be focusing on the Amorites, okay? So this is Amor, son of Canaan. So we've been looking at the sons of Canaan, now we're looking at Amor, or Mari, or Mori, okay? Now let's see what they say about the Amorites. It says, in the earliest Sumerian sources concerning the Amorites, beginning around 2400 BC, the land of the Amorites was known as Martu land, and not associated with Mesopotamia, remember that's the land between the two rivers, but with the lands to the west of the Euphrates, including Canaan and what was to become Syria by the 3rd century BC. Okay, so Syria is what the Greeks named the land of Aram, because we'll see that connection now, because it says it was known as the land of Amuru and then later as Aram. Okay, so we've got this connection with the Amuru. There was a kingdom known as the Amuru, and they're connecting the Amuru to the Amorites, and it's saying that they were in to the west of the Euphrates. And it says here, look here, that the Amorites were known as the Westerners. Probably because of this reason that they were to the west of the Euphrates. So look to see where they say this kingdom was. So we see we got this region of Syria and Lebanon to the north of the modern state of Israel. So saying that the Amorites were to the north in northern Syria territory, but it doesn't quite make sense why they would be called Westerners if they're in this region or the Middle East. So they're saying it's to the west of the Euphrates, but I'm not sure if that completely makes sense. To me that seems possibly like that could be a discrepancy there. And then if you think about the work that we've been doing with the picture, how we kind of spoke about this river going across here known as the Great River, and trying to see if we can find evidence for the Euphrates being in this river, then the Amorites would be dwelling in this region to the west of the Euphrates. And we've been speaking about this potentially being the land of Aram. Okay, so let's just read that again. It says that this land known as the land of Amuru was later then known as Aram, okay, because it actually was the land of Aram, but the Amorites were dwelling in the land. We've spoken about this. So it took on the name of Aram once the Amorites were driven out. And we did a video about two sons of Aram, and we found this potential Damisak for Damascus in Nigeria, and equating this also with the land of Urartu, remember, with this Tushba. And I saw something on here which is interesting, because if we look at the Amuru, it says that the capital of Amuru was Sumer. Now I don't think this is the same Sumer as Sumeria. Remember we spoke about this with Zemar, the son of Canaan, that this was connected to Zemar, and I was wondering whether it was also connected to the capital of Palestine, which was known as Samaria, because in the Bible we've got this region known as Samaria. I was wondering if this could be connected to that Sumer. So it says there a territory in Palestine which had Samaria as its capital. So it's saying that the Amuru were dwelling in this region of Sumer. And I saw on this map that there is this, here look here, Samara. I was wondering whether this could be connected to Sumer or maybe Samaria. And Samaria would be like in the northern kingdom of Israel, with the 10 northern tribes. So I can't say that's definite that is Sumer or Samaria, but it's just interesting. We have a potential option here. And if we look at the Bible verses to try to get an idea of where these Amorites were, and the Samaria, just to give you an idea of what we need to do, it says here, this is speaking about Jesus in the New Testament. It says, and it came to pass as he went to Jerusalem that he passed through the midst of Samaria and Galilee. So there's a connection with Samaria and Galilee. So if we want to find the Samaria, we need to focus on this Galilee and build a picture for Galilee, and that will help to see where Samaria was. Now, so we're starting to get an idea of these Amorites being known as Westerners, and we can see that it might make more sense if we're looking for the Euphrates in this region, and we've got Amorites dwelling in this region, because then the Amorites would be dwelling to the west of Egypt. So if the Egypt called them the Westerners, then that would make sense. And I saw here on this map as well, it says here, look, Canin, and if you pronounce that, you might say that as Canin. So I was wondering if that is kind of showing a reference to the land of Canaan. I hadn't shown you that one yet. Let's look to see what how they describe these Amorites with his appearance. Okay, now it's saying here that the Amorites were tall and handsome, so there's this tallness element with the Amorites, and that they're depicted with white skin, blue eyes, and reddish hair, all the characteristics, in fact, of the white race. Mr. Petrie points out that there are resemblances to that of the Dardanians of Asia Minor, and these Dardanians are connected to the Trojans, and these Trojans are going to come up more and more as we continue to do this study. And they've got similar appearance to the white-skinned tribes of the Greeks and the fair-complexioned Libyans of North Africa. Just to get an idea of what these Amorites may have looked like. And it also says something about them having long header-type skulls, and this is found throughout Britain, France, Spain, and North Africa, and he's connecting it to this cromlech culture, that these Amorites may have been going through these regions like Spain, France, and into Britain, building these cromlechs, and they're finding these skulls. And one of the most famous cromlechs is Stonehenge, and you have these legends that this may have been built by giants. So maybe the Amorites were in this land, and maybe the Amorites were involved with this Stonehenge. And there was one other interesting thing I just wanted to bring up, is that these Amorites with the aquiline nose. I'll show you if I can find it here. Here it is. Here it says here that these Amorites had this sub-aquiline cast, which is called the Roman nose. To show you that. So this is a trait of the Amorites, this aquiline nose, which is quite interesting. Now I want to try and get an idea more about where these Amorites were living, and try and build our picture, add to the picture that we're building. So if we look at the Bible, it says, this is Numbers 21:13. This is speaking about the Exodus from Egypt, and it's saying, from there they traveled and encamped on the other side of the Arnon, which is in the wilderness that comes out of the border of the Amorites. For the Arnon is the border of Moab, between Moab and the Amorites. Okay, so it's saying that the Moabites lived near the Amorites. Now, we were looking at the nations from Abraham, and we were looking at the Edomites, remember? Because we wanted to try to see where was this land of Arphaxad. So you must want to watch that video so you know what we're talking about. But just briefly as a recap, we were looking for the land of Arphaxad in this region, and we had this Zaire. I hope you can see it on here. I think it's there. Zaire. This region was known as the kingdom of Zaire, and there's a connection to Zaire and the biblical Sair. But in the Bible it's spelled S-E-I-R, but this pronunciation is very similar to Zaire. So we're looking for Edom in this territory. And now what they're saying in this verse is that the Amorites live near the Moabites. So let's just see what we can find about the Moabites. and I was looking for Moab, and I saw a few options. We have Moabi. Okay, so we're looking for Moab, and we have Moabi in Gabon. Let me show you where Gabon is. Okay, so on this map, Gabon is this country here. So there's a Moabi in Gabon. So that would be, roughly speaking, in this region here. We zoom out this territory here. We have a Moabi, okay? And there was a few other options as well that I saw, because I also searched this spelling, and you got Muabi in Cameroon and Muabi in the Congo. Okay, so we've actually got quite a few options, so this territory might have been quite big. So we've got Cameroon and the Congo. So if we go to this map again, wrong tab, we've got an option in the Cameroon and also an option in the Congo. So the territory of the Moab could have been stretching from Gabon into Cameroon, but also going in maybe into the Congo. So they might have had quite a large territory. So we're just trying to get an idea of and build on this picture for these nations. So now we're looking at another one of these nations that are connected to our Faxad, but this is going through Haran to Terah, okay? But still in relation to Abraham, they're still related to Abraham, these Moabites. And the Ammonites, these are brothers. For the Ammonites, let's just see if we can find, I just want to see where my tab is for the Ammonites. I think it was over here. Okay, so the Ammonites, this is the brother of Moab, and it says that the Ammonites inhabited the land situated at the east of the Jordan River to the north of Moab. Okay, so we should be looking for the Ammonites to the north of Moab. So if we think about what we've already looked at, we've got these options of Moab being in this vicinity of Gabon and the Cameroon, and also into the Congo. So we should be looking for the Ammonites to the north. Now it's not easy to find information on the Ammonites, but I found one potential option, because it says that the capital of Ammon was Rabbah, and I saw one option. A couple of options is Rabbah in Niger, and also Rabbah in Nigeria. There's a few options of Rabbah in Nigeria, and we're not just looking for things that just coincidences. It has to kind of look, it has to ring true and fit. So this should be to the north of Moab, and let me show you on here in case you don't know these countries and you're new to the geography. Here's Niger, here's Nigeria. So we've got two options for Rabbah, the capital of Ammon, one in Niger and two in Nigeria, and we can see that they are to the north, potentially, of Moab. So we're looking at Moab in this region, and then to the north, Ammon. Now this is obviously, you would have to try, like I've said before, build a picture on these little, focus in on these names in these areas, and try to see what else you can find to try strengthen the picture, and see if it, if it becomes stronger, if it looks true, because that's what you have to decide for yourself. What is true. But that does fit. That if this would be Moab, we've got evidence for possibly Ammon being to the north. And the Amorites will be dwelling near the land of Moab. So we're finding more evidence for where these Amorites may have lived. And remember, they're known as Westerners, so we can see that they're to the west of Egypt. But we've also got this other study, which is connecting them to possibly this cromlech building culture going into Spain, Britain, and France. And we can see, let me show you, we've got this Armorica. So could this be connected? And this is Western France. So we've got that Amor, is this connected to the Amorites? Because we've also got Veneti here. And that's like Phoeniki, the Phoenicians. Because remember, you've got the Phoenician Empire and the story of the merchants of Venice, and Canaan. The tribes of Canaan were known as a merchant people. So that's interesting that you've got the Veneti next to to Amorica. So it could be Amorites, and this could be the Phoenicians, which is connected to Canaan. But that kind of just supports a little bit this idea of these Amorites moving into Spain, into Western France, and into Britain, and with this cromlech culture. Now, I just want to give you a little bit of an idea of what happened to these Amorites, because the Bible does tell us about what was going to happen to these Amorites. Let me just read this to you here. It says, "And he said unto Abraham, Know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years." Okay, this is speaking about the Israelites going into captivity in Egypt, and they're being afflicted for 400 years. And then it says, and also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterward shall they come out with great substance. Okay, so he's going to judge the Egyptians, and that's the story with Moses and the plagues, and that Israel would come out with great substance, because the Egyptians were giving Israel treasure, and that maybe to for them to go. And then it says, "And thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace, thou shalt be buried in a good old age. But in the 4th generation they shall come hither again, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full." So Abraham was in the promised land, in the Holy Land, and he's saying that your descendants are going to go into captivity, but in the 4th generation they're going to come into this land and inherit this land. But not yet, because the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. So it's kind of saying that the evil and the sin of the Amorites had not reached complete fruition yet, and only when that reaches complete fruition, then he was going to judge the Amorites. And then we can kind of see in the history that the Amorites were very powerful, one of the most powerful tribes maybe this ancient Mesopotamia, because we have this famous King Hammurabi and this Amorite dynasty of Babylon. So the Amorites really seem to be, possibly one of the most strongest tribes in this period. Because if they're controlling Babylon, and Babylon was kind of, one of the most illustrious places in the ancient world, one of the key places to be ruling from. But then we can see that as we start getting closer to the Exodus, we see that the Hittites are starting to rise, and they sack the city of Ebla, and then the Amorite dynasty of Aleppo is overthrown, and then the Hittites sack Babylon, ending the Amorite rule, the Amorite dynasty of Babylon. And then by 600 BC the Amorites no longer are mentioned. So we don't have a lot of information on the Amorites, because their kingdom was destroyed, their power was taken away, and it seems like the Hittites were involved in that, and that kind of fulfilled this prophecy from the Bible where God said he was going to judge the Amorites, and that their time has been fulfilled. And it's kind of fulfilled by the Israelites coming into the Holy Land and fighting against all these Canaanite nations. But it also says that God also fought on their behalf. I've got a verse here to show you. Let me find this verse. Somewhere I've got it here. Yeah, I've got it here. It says Amos 2:9. "Yet I destroyed the Amorite before them, whose height was like the height of the cedars, and he was strong as the oaks. Yet I destroyed his fruit from above and his roots from beneath." So it's actually showing that that God was actually going to drive out these Amorites as well and fight against these Amorites. And it says that they were like the height of the cedars. So we got this connection with giants in the line of the Amorites, which is also interesting when we were talking about a legend that maybe the giants were involved with building these cromlechs, these huge stone monuments. But I think that's going to be it for the Amorites for now. I think we will try talk about them more when we cover other sons of Noah. But I think in this video we've kind of given a bit more attention to our picture in terms of the some of the other nations like Moab and the Ammonites. So we get an idea now for Edom in this region, and also Moab in this region, and maybe the Ammonites to the north. And I also saw these other options for Edom, some other interesting options, because we've got Idoma in the Congo, we've got Idoma in Nigeria. So there's quite a few options for Edom. Also look here, Idome, Uganda, Idomi, Nigeria. This one's quite an interesting one because Esau, his name was changed to Edom, and Edom was also known as Idumea, and this Idomi is quite close to that Idumea. And there was a few other options, I think. Got Idomo, Cameroon. I think that was it for that. But we can kind of see that this land of Edom might have been very large, even maybe reaching up towards Nigeria. And then also we've got this idea that Moab would be in this region, with these connections to Moabi, Gabon, and also Moabi, Cameroon, and Moabi in the Congo. So I hope you enjoyed this video on the Amorites. We've learned quite a bit about the Amorites, but we've also built a bit more in our picture with these other nations, trying to strengthen this idea that we're looking at. In the next video we're going to be looking at the Hittites, Heth, son of Canaan, and he might also help give us some more information about the Amorites and where they were located. But until that next video on the Hittites, we'll see you soon and take care.